Welcome to Advanced Data Analysis 1 with me, Erik Erhardt, Professor of Statistics at the University of New Mexico. In this video, we'll take a look at Chapter 1 of the textbook. I'll orient you to the features of the textbook. I'm not going to give you a lecture on the textbook material in this video because there are videos specific to that, but I just want you to see what the features of the textbook are. Okay, so if we scroll down to today's assignment, this is the video link that you clicked, and this is the textbook over here. So we'll open up that tab, and it will bring you to the chapter within the book. The chapters are on the left-hand side menu, and within each chapter, the sections are over here on the right. It does give a summary of what the chapter is about up top. It starts with a case study. Often the case studies should not be skipped because they include key ideas. In this case, we've got the concepts of treatment and control groups, where researchers are randomly assigning and doing a controlled experiment. Anything with what looks like this old-timey hard drive platter icon is telling you about data. And in this case, it's saying that there are these two data sets, Stent 30 and Stent 365, which are two separate data sets related to the same case study. And it tells you what package it is in. I'll show you how to look at that data if you wanted to. For most of the case studies or examples as you read through the book, it won't be necessary to actually go and look at the data, but I know if I was a student in this class, I would be curious and I would head over to look at some of the data itself. So let me go back and forth here. Sorry, my computer's responding a little slowly. Hopefully it's still recording. Okay, so this data is found in the Open Intro package, okay? And these are the data set names. So first we'll need to library this package. So I'm going to copy the package name over to RStudio. I'm going to type library and put the package name in parentheses, okay? It's going to load a couple other packages. That's fine. And now these data sets are in the namespace, meaning, oops, I clicked on it, which means that they are available to be brought in as objects. So let me grab this. Sorry, my computer's hesitating a bit. So there's the data set name. I'm just going to type the name and press enter. If you press enter in the console, it prints the information. Okay. So Stent 30. We've got group and outcome as two outcomes, or as two things, two columns in this data set. You know, and then you could start doing things with this, right? We could, we can't do a table of the whole data set. That doesn't, oh, it did do it. It did a two-way table. I think that is new functionality in R to do that. Anyway, so it took one column, made it the rows, and took the second column and made it the columns. And for every pair of outcomes, group had control and treatment as outcomes, outcome had no event and stroke as values. It counted how many rows had those combinations. Okay, so let's sort of, maybe we can just double check these. So with stroke, we've got 13 and 30 in the control and treatment groups. The treatment group actually has almost 3 times as many strokes as the control group. All right, so let's go over and take a look. There's our 13 and 30. Very cool. All right, and same thing with the other table. We will learn, of course, throughout the extent of this course, lots of ways of working with data. I've just shown you, right? I've typed 3 lines of code. It's just the beginning. All right. In these guided practices, it often gives you some context. Okay, so in this case, of the 224 patients in the treatment group, so that looks like, if you add these two numbers together, 33 plus 191 is 224. 45 had a stroke by the end of the first year. Okay, so I guess that we're talking about this row here in the treatment group. 45 had a stroke. Using these two numbers, compute the proportion of patients in the treatment group who had a stroke by the end of the first year. Okay, so we could do that in R. We could do it on a calculator. We can do it in our heads. Let me just bring these two numbers over to R and just see how we do that. So we got 45 out of divided by the total number of people. Okay, so we'll add those two numbers together and we'll press enter. That's a proportion, about 20%. Now the answers to all guided practice exercises are provided in this footnote. So there's a little number here. I'm going to superscript 3. I'm going to click on it, and it actually gives you the answer to that guided practice. So it gives you a chance to try it out and then check. All right, so that's a summary statistic, and you can go ahead and calculate those for all different proportions. Again, this is not a lecture on the content. I'm just orienting you to the style of writing in the chapter. Okay, data basics. It talks about cases, observational units, variables. There's another guided practice. There's another data set. Here's a nice code book for this sort of a simplified code book where you got the variable name and the description. Oops, excuse me. Guided practices. All right, keep scrolling down. Types of variables. Okay, there are some examples in these gray boxes as well. There will be plots, and the code to the plots is somewhat hidden. I don't think I'm going to show you. I guess I can show you how to get to these plots. Let me do that. This is not an important part, but right, it's just for like the ultra nerds of you. So in here there are GitHub links. You can actually edit these pages, not directly, but you can propose and edit. I recommend not doing that. If you see an issue, maybe let me know, and I can send Mina a pull request on that. But view source, I'm going to open that in a new link. It's going to bring us to GitHub. Okay, the branch wasn't found. We can go to the default branch. It brings us over. We're looking at the chapter 1 data. This is the QMD file. The chapters have like 01, 02, 03 with the name. So 01, hello data, that's the first chapter. You can click on the QMD file, and it gives you the source that created the chapter that we're looking at. And here's a bunch of code. All right, so we're looking for this plot that's way down. Let me just do a search for like a scatter plot of home ownership. Okay, so I'm going to search. Okay, a scatter plot of home ownership. There's the figure caption, and then there's this code here that creates the plot. I'll just show you that it works. First of all, I'll show you that it doesn't work by itself. If you just try to put the code there for the plot, it doesn't work because the prerequisite libraries, packages and data sets may not have been loaded yet into our environment because everything depends on everything else. So you have to sort of scroll up to the top and see what things were run before. Now, unfortunately, there are some things that are hidden. In common.r, I think there's some packages that are loaded. So the one thing I know for sure, we need to library the tidyverse. That loads, I think, 9 packages that all sort of work together. One of those are the ggplot2, which has this function ggplot, which was not found. So that's sort of the beginning of stuff. Let's see. I will just look very, very quickly to see if there's any other required packages. There is the data set that we're using here is called country. There is, that just creates a table. That's descriptions. I think we're probably good. Let's just try it. The country data set may have been in that package that we loaded already. Okay, I can't find this percent format. Well, okay. I've dug myself into a hole now. percent format. That's probably in the scales package. Okay, I'm taking a couple guesses. All right. Hey, look at that. So by loading the right packages, now we've got the plot that appears. We will, in time, learn what all these lines of code do and how it produces this plot. The basic plot is just putting the data set into ggplot, assigning a variable to the x-axis, assigning a variable to the y-axis, and then plotting the points. And you'll see actually if I bring all this back, and I will just simplify what's being plotted here. There we go. That's the beginning plot. What's on the x-axis, what variables on the y-axis, what geometric object am I going to plot? It's going to be a point. So if I do that, I get the basic scatter plot. Everything else is additional annotation and so on. Okay, well, I went down a detour down there. But anyway, so you can find the source to reproduce the plots and the tables and anything else that is generated from data in a chapter. Okay. Okay. All right. Guided practice example. All right. So there are these warnings, like not really warnings, but the red flags are like things you should really pay attention to. A key idea. All right. Everything else would be covered in the lectures for the chapter. There's always a chapter review. You know, you might even, if I were doing this as a student, I would probably come down here to the summary and read the summary first. That way you have a sense of what's coming. And then you can cover everything in detail, having the context of what to expect, right? The best lectures are those that say what you're going to say it, and then say what you said. So you can give yourself that structure by yourself. There's a list of terms that are used in the chapter. You probably by the end of the chapter want to just read through these and make sure that you understand the definitions for each of those and how they are to be used. If you don't understand them, like maybe I didn't understand positive association, I might just search for that term with Control F and then search. And then it will, with using search, you can jump up there and see how it's used. Okay. I'll jump back down. All right. And then the last, almost half of each chapter is going to be exercises because it takes a lot of text. And that will be the end of the chapter. If I scroll down to the very bottom, we end with the very last exercise and we're ready to go to chapter 2. So that is orientation to book chapters. Many of the sections in the book have videos that maybe don't come directly from this book, but come from one that is almost identical, like a previous edition, effectively. And for those sections that are not covered that I feel are important for you to get an instructor's point of view about, I will record my own videos for those. All right, see you in the next one.